Late one night, while scrolling through live streams, I connected with an appraiser and fortune teller. I proudly showed him the necklace I was wearing. I found it at a crossroads, totally free. Later, I had it appraised by a few people, and they all said it was priceless. He frowned. There are two things you should never pick up off the street: money from a crossroads, and anything tangled with hair. That necklace you're wearing was wrapped in a dead person's hair. Wear it for 49 days, and you'll become someone else. 1. It was the last day of a long holiday weekend, and I was stuck working overtime. The clock hit midnight. I glanced up, annoyed, and sighed. I seriously suspected my boss was a vampire, always trying to suck every last drop of blood from us poor workers. Finally, at 4 a.m., I clocked out. It was pitch black when I left the building. I decided to grab something to eat at a nearby diner, and then head back to work. As I reached a large intersection, I suddenly heard a strange noise in the distance. I couldn't help but stop and listen closely. It was a low, unsettling sound. A mix of a woman's pained, seductive moans and a man's hoarse shouts. I chuckled to myself. Curiosity is just human nature, right? Doing that out on the street? Playing with fire, huh? But I found it strange. Even though it was late, dawn wasn't far off. Weren't they worried about being seen at this hour? Holding my breath, I cautiously crept towards the sound. I had to see what was going on. 2. Before I knew it, I was beside a patch of grass on the roadside. Suddenly, the bizarre sound stopped. Confused, I scratched my head and looked around but saw nothing. Just as I was thinking it might be a prank and was about to leave, a streetlight suddenly illuminated the grass, and my heart leaped into my throat. In the light, I saw a half-open black duffel bag lying quietly in the grass. When I saw what was inside, my heart pounded. I could just make out a flash of bright red. I carefully looked around, made sure no one was watching, then snatched the bag and ran home like crazy. Back home, my hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was $50,000 in cash and a diamond necklace. 5 neat stacks of bills, $10,000 each. The strange thing was, the top bill of each stack had some black symbols drawn on it. They looked like a mix of writing and drawings. This creepy discovery made my heart race. But for someone who worked herself to death overtime and barely made $3,000 a month, $50,000 was a fortune. $50,000 that was more than my annual salary. It was hard not to be tempted. Pleased with myself, I tossed the duffel bag into the dumpster downstairs. Over the next few days, I had several people appraise the necklace, and they all said it was a genuine luxury brand item. But at night, those weird symbols on the cash kept popping into my head, making it hard to sleep. I couldn't help but wonder if this windfall was some kind of scam. 3. Almost a month passed. Since no one came looking for the stuff, I gradually relaxed. One morning after work, I was home, bored, and scrolling through live streams. I came across an appraiser and fortune teller doing a live session. I glanced down at the necklace I was wearing and, on a whim, connected with him. Getting it for free was great, but it still felt unreal. I still felt uneasy about it. I showed him the necklace and asked, "Master, what do you think this necklace is worth?" He frowned. There are two things you should never pick up off the street: money from a crossroads, and anything tangled with hair. That necklace you're wearing was wrapped in a dead person's hair. Wear it for 49 days, and you'll become someone else. 4. My face flushed red. Who are you kidding? I paid a lot of money for this. How could it be something I just found? As I spoke, I clicked the link on the fortune teller's page. I burst out laughing. $10,000 a session. 2 sales a month, 100% positive reviews. This is so obviously fake. Trying to scam people? 2 sales a month, did you buy them yourself? That's hilarious. I bet your 3 million followers are all bought. He just smiled faintly and said, "Don't you think you've been strangely unlucky lately? And always running into odd things?" I didn't say anything, just held up my phone, ready to take a sip of water and argue with him for hours. But instantly, I choked so hard I almost couldn't breathe. Confused, I stared at the water in my hand, and my heart started to pound. Over the past month, I must have choked on water at least 20 times. At first, I just thought I was unlucky. So unlucky that even drinking water went down the wrong way. The more I thought about it now, the weirder it seemed. 5. It was dead quiet, and what he just said sent a chill down my spine. A dead person's necklace? I looked down and examined it closely again. The diamonds sparkled, the chain was brand new, showing no signs of age. I looked back at the live stream. A lot of people had joined. I raised an eyebrow, watching the flood of comments I couldn't possibly read. Could this guy actually be a big influencer? He had so much traffic, almost like a B-list celebrity. This girl is so stubborn. The host already told her. How can she still not believe it? LOL, is this girl a paid actor? I've never seen someone so unlucky they choke on water. The viewers were all talking at once, mostly criticizing me, fewer criticizing the host. A chill ran up my spine. I tried to reassure myself. Who would be so twisted as to leave a dead person's necklace for someone to find? But once a doubt takes root, you feel like you're being watched even when you're alone. I was about to take off the necklace and toss it in the living room, but it was like the clasp had vanished. I fumbled around but couldn't find it. 6. My fingers trembled as I felt around my neck, but I couldn't find the necklace clasp anywhere. Panic washed over me, and my breathing quickened. The air in the room seemed to freeze every second stretched on. Don't panic, calm down, I told myself, taking a deep breath. Maybe I was just too stressed. The clasp had to be there. I turned and walked to the mirror to get a better look. Just then I slipped and almost fell. Looking down, I saw a small puddle of water on the floor. I clearly remembered wiping the floor earlier. How could there be water? Even weirder, the puddle was shaped like a faint footprint. I forced myself to focus back on the necklace. Standing before the mirror, I carefully examined every inch of my neck. But my reflection made me gasp. The necklace formed a perfect circle around my neck. There was no sign of a clasp, as if it had grown right into my skin. This is impossible, I muttered, my fingers searching again in vain. Suddenly my phone screen lit up. It was the live stream. The host's voice came from the speaker. Remember, 49 days. Your time is running out. 7. Panicked, I immediately ended the live stream. Just then the doorbell rang. I nearly jumped out of my skin, my heart pounding like a drum. Who in their right mind would be knocking on my door this late? I tiptoed to the door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, only the emergency light flickering on and off. As I was about to turn away, I suddenly heard fingernails scratching the door from outside. Maybe I was just hearing things. My thoughts were a mess. Then I noticed a small card by the living room door. It was a photo of a little girl, but her eyes had been gouged out. On the back, a countdown to death was written in red pen. Who the hell is doing this? Don't let me catch you, I yelled at the door. I've seen plenty of horror movies, but this photo sent a real shiver down my spine. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but my palms were sweating. To distract myself, I instinctively picked up my phone to check my bank balance. Instantly, a more realistic kind of fear washed over me. The pitiful number on the screen was a stark reminder. What could be scarier than being broke? I let out a bitter laugh, a wave of self-pity washing over me. Whatever, I muttered. I finally have a day off. I'm not letting this crap ruin it. I tossed my phone onto the bed with a thud. I turned on the projector, planning to enjoy a movie, and then get some sleep. I had to cherish this rare break from the corporate grind. I turned off the lights, ready for a good night's sleep. Eventually, I drifted off into a heavy sleep. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I felt the necklace on my chest start to squirm eerily. Suddenly, a deathly pale hand emerged from it, accompanied by an indescribable, sickeningly sweet smell. It was a hand rotted almost to the bone. The hand plunged into my chest without hesitation. I could clearly feel it tearing through my flesh, breaking my ribs. The intense pain made me want to scream, but no sound came out. Cold fingers rummaged inside me, as if searching for something. Finally, the hand found what it was looking for. I felt my heart being squeezed tightly, then brutally ripped out. Looking down, I saw my chest was a bloody mess, blood gushing out like a fountain, staining the sheets. An unbearable burning sensation spread from my chest. Instantly, I woke up. Thank God, it was just a dream, I whispered to myself. Suddenly, I heard footsteps outside my room. My first thought was, burglars. I tried to sit up and grab something, but I couldn't move a muscle. It was like I was tied to the bed with invisible ropes. Only my eyes could move. Click, clack, click. The sound of high heels came from the hallway, getting closer. My heart raced, my breath quickened. The sound stopped abruptly, and a suffocating silence filled the room. Just then, I felt a pair of icy hands grab my ankles. The touch was like death's claws, sending shivers through my entire body. I struggled with all my might and finally broke free from the invisible bonds, bolting upright. My gaze fell on the foot of the bed, and my blood seemed to freeze. My heart felt like it was going to pound out of my chest. A woman? No, more like a ghost. I saw a figure with a face so pale it was almost transparent. A female ghost stood at the foot of my bed, bluish veins visible beneath her skin. Dark red blood slowly trickled from her eye sockets. Her blackened lips were slightly parted, revealing a row of grayish teeth. 8. Then, I snapped my eyes open, my back drenched in cold sweat. I nervously scanned the room. It was pitch black, with only a faint moonlight seeping in from the window. Damn, a dream within a dream. So realistic. I heaved a sigh and wiped the sweat from my forehead. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. It was 1 a.m. My phone immediately buzzed with a ton of notifications. At the top were several DMs from the appraiser and fortune teller. A person's soul is protected by their inner spiritual energy. Places with dark energy can extinguish this light, causing the soul to detach. The most dangerous are five-way crossroads. Spiritually vulnerable people who wander there will have their souls claimed. And you must never take money or objects left there. Taking them means you've agreed to a soul exchange. I knew there was something wrong with your necklace the moment I saw it. You need to think carefully. How many days has it been since you found it? This is crucial. 9. After everything that had just happened, I couldn't deny the possibility that I was really being haunted. My fingers trembled as I typed on my phone screen. Master, I tried to take the necklace off but I can't. I even dreamed about that woman just now. After sending the message, I held my breath, waiting for a reply. The silence in the room made me even more uneasy. I kept feeling like unseen eyes were watching me in the dark. He just sent me his contact info. I added him as a friend. He accepted immediately. Before I could even type a message, he sent me a payment QR code. I cursed under my breath. Sure enough, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Even though I'm a cheapskate, I had to grit my teeth and, with a bleeding heart, transfer him $10,000. Compared to actually bleeding, I'd rather bleed a little money. Right then, I really wanted to slap my greedy self from a month ago, trying to score a deal, and I almost lost my life. After the transfer, he replied immediately. Think carefully. Exactly how many days has it been? It must be precise. I opened my calendar, my fingers swiping across the screen. That day was the last day of the long holiday weekend, October 7th, around 4:30 a.m. And now it was November 26th, midnight. Suddenly my heart lurched. A terrifying realization hit me. That meant there were only 4.5 hours left until the full 49 days. Cold sweat trickled down my back. I felt dizzy. The deadline was so close, it felt like death's scythe was hanging over my head. I looked around. The air was thick with an indescribable sense of oppression. I stared at the necklace. It glowed eerily in the dim light. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if it really reached the 49th day. What did become someone else even mean? 10. Trembling, I tapped my phone screen and sent him a message. If today is the 49th day, what will happen to me? I watched as his status showed typing for a long time. Then he sent just a short reply. Good luck. I'll refund your money. Those few words made my hair stand on end. I sent a few pleading emojis, hoping he could help me figure something out. After another long pause, he sent me an address. It was the place where I found the stuff. When you come, bring items for a soul retrieval ritual. A broom and clothes you wear often. You must get here before 2 a.m. I didn't even have time to ask how he knew the place. I quickly gathered everything he asked for. I was in such a hurry I even forgot to change my shoes. When I arrived, the silence was eerie. I stood there, stunned, looking around. Suddenly, the master was behind me. You're finally here. I've been waiting a long time for you. 11. I asked, confused. A long time? It only took me about 15 minutes to get here. But I didn't have time to dwell on that. I quickly asked what was on my mind. What do I have to do to survive? The fortune teller calmly explained. You'll take the broom and walk to that spot ahead, the 5-way intersection. In spiritual terms, it's a yin-yang path for the living by day, spirits by night. Over time, a vortex of dark energy forms there. Just walking through can lead to spirit possession, let alone taking something that belongs to one of them. The master told me to hold my clothes up with the broom, walk to the intersection, and call back my lost soul. Before I started, he tied a thick red cord around my wrists. I was about to follow his instructions, close my eyes, and walk forward. But a sharp pain shot through my head, and a warm liquid trickled down my neck like a snake. I struggled to turn around, just in time to see a familiar figure behind me. My consciousness faded, and I passed out. 12. When I woke up again, I was tied to a chair. My head swimming, I looked around. I didn't recognize the place. It looked like an abandoned construction site. Old steel pipes and piles of dirt were scattered everywhere. A voice sounded behind me. You're awake. I've had a hard time finding you. It was the fortune teller. He slowly walked in front of me. I tilted my head, confused. Had I been tricked? Hey man, we can talk this out. Look, I want to report you for fraud. Consider the $10,000 a gift. Just don't get worked up and do something bad for both of us. I quickly tried to reason with him, eyeing the steel pipe he was gripping tightly. Large beads of sweat dripped from my forehead. I didn't understand. Why tie me up? Was he after money or something else? The problem was I didn't have either. As much as I hated to admit it, I knew I was plain looking and broke. I gave a bitter smile. With all my health problems, even organ traffickers would probably pass me over. 13. You don't know why I'm looking for you? Search your conscience. The man's voice was low and cold. I looked up into his eyes and instantly felt a chill. The anger and hatred burning in them looked like they could incinerate me. He looked at me like I was his mortal enemy. It made me shiver involuntarily. I racked my brain, trying to remember anything terrible I might have done in my life, trying to find any reason why this man would be so furious with me. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. Was it because of that duffel bag? I said urgently, I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was yours. The stuff is still at my place. I haven't spent a penny. I'll give you the necklace back right now. While pleading, I carefully scanned my surroundings, looking for a possible escape route. Years as an orphan had taught me, rely on yourself, not others. Trust yourself, not fate. Suddenly, my words seemed to strike a nerve. His expression changed abruptly, as if all his strength had drained away, and he slumped to the ground. He wailed in anguish, Lily, someone else caused your death, and they don't even feel guilty. I shook my head in terror, completely bewildered. The man before me was like a lunatic, his emotions shifting in an instant. This unpredictability made me even more wary. Suddenly, the man pulled something from his pocket, jumped up, and rushed at me. I instinctively shut my eyes and turned my head away, thinking I was about to be killed. However, the pain I expected never came. I saw the man suddenly pull something from his pocket and stand right in front of me. Confused, I opened my eyes and saw he was only holding a photograph. I stared at the photo, trying to understand what was happening. It was a smiling young girl. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place where I'd seen her. 14. Who is this? She is really cute. I asked cautiously, afraid of angering him again. The man's eyes welled with tears, his voice trembling with anger and grief. He choked out, You killed this little girl. Do you know that? She was my daughter, my whole life. You destroyed our happy family, you tore my wife and me apart. How could I not hate you? Panting, I tried to get him to calm down. Man, you need to have proof and be reasonable. I swear to God, I've never killed anyone. There must be some misunderstanding. 15. The man cut me off. Misunderstanding? You think this is a misunderstanding? We waited so long for an organ. We were so close, And then our hope was snatched away at the last second. Do you know that kind of despair? 5 years ago, my Lily needed a heart transplant. We waited almost a year for a donor. We finally got one. Do you know how happy our whole family was? We went into surgery full of gratitude. The operation was halfway through when they suddenly told us the donor heart was gone. They said the donor changed their mind. But then we saw a transplant surgery starting in the next operating room. Would you believe that if it happened to you? It was because we had no money, no connections. The man's smile twisted into a pained mask. A crazed light shone in his eyes. His pupils dilated from extreme emotion. His fingers, like steel, tightened around my throat, the pressure increasing. If only they'd told us sooner. Why wait until the surgery was halfway done? My Lily died on that operating table. I investigated later. The person in the next or was you, Sarah. You definitely killed my Lily. Now I finally understood why this man hated me so much. They say never underestimate a father's love for his daughter. He'd do anything for his child. Right then, I had no doubt that if I couldn't say something to move him, he really intended to kill me. I felt my breathing become more and more difficult, my vision blurring. Fear washed over my consciousness like a tide. I flailed my arms uselessly, trying to push him away, but the lack of oxygen made my movements weak. I mustered the last of my strength to shake my head. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, the man let go. 16. I gasped for air, watching as the man bent down to pick up a knife behind him. It wasn't me, I managed to say, my voice hoarse. I took a deep breath and continued. If you want revenge, get revenge. But why didn't you investigate properly? I'm an orphan. My parents abandoned me because I have a heart condition. What kind of connections could I possibly have? My past replayed in my mind like a slideshow. Saying this, an uncontrollable bitterness welled up inside me. Tears streamed down my face. I don't know if it was fear or empathy, but a sense of desolation surrounded me. Other people's parents would move heaven and earth for their children, but mine. I worked desperately hard for money. I'm a cheapskate, I love a bargain. Isn't that because I've always only had myself? The high medical bills, the regular checkup fees, they weigh on me like a mountain. I have no one to rely on, but I want to live. The man's hand froze in midair, but the blade was still dangerously close to my skin. The tip of the knife pressed against my chin, a sharp sting. We stared at each other as if time had stopped. If it wasn't you, then who was it? If you can't tell me, then die. 17. Right then, I could feel my heart pounding violently in my chest. It was partly because of the danger I was in, and partly because of my damned congenital heart condition acting up. I had to make him believe me. This was my only chance. I still have a heart condition. If you don't believe me, check my bag. My voice was sharp with fear and desperation, almost a shriek. I pointed to my bag nearby, my eyes pleading. The man hesitated for a moment. The blade was still at my throat, but the pressure eased slightly. He glanced at me warily, then slowly moved to my bag. I held my breath, watching him rummage through it with his free hand. As he pulled out bottle after bottle of medication, I saw his expression change from suspicion to confusion. Things like captopril, irbesartan. These are all drugs I have to take every day, essential to keeping me alive. These are also medications for heart patients. Impossible. He blurted out, his voice full of uncertainty. I clearly checked the nurse's surgical records. Sarah's name was written for the patient in the next room. I watched the man's expression shift from anger to shock, then to confusion. I smiled bitterly, feeling tears welling up again. I want to be healthy too, I said softly, my voice filled with helplessness and pain. I wasn't just saying it to him, it felt like I was saying it to myself. So many nights, I fantasized about being able to live a normal, healthy life. I saw his eyes gradually become bewildered, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief internally. Thank goodness the man still had some reason left in him. The danger wasn't completely gone, but at least there was a sliver of hope. 18. You really don't know what happened? He asked, the suspicion in his voice lessened, replaced by confusion and a hint of apology. I shook my head, feeling exhausted. I really don't know. I'm just an ordinary person, struggling to survive every day. If I really had connections, wouldn't I have gotten my own heart condition cured first? The tension in the air dissipated, replaced by a strange calm. I asked cautiously, "So the stuff in the duffel bag and the card in the middle of the night, was that you?" The man frowned, confused. "The stuff definitely wasn't me. I wanted revenge, but after all these years of trying, I only managed to find out your city and get your photo. The moment your face appeared on that screen, I recognized you, Sarah. I had to avenge my daughter. My original plan was to help you with the soul retrieval first. If you were going to die, you had to tell me why you did what you did back then, and then die by my hand." I asked, puzzled. "Then how did you know the location for the ritual?" "I make a living through spiritual arts, you know. I saw you were giving off a dark aura. It was obvious you picked it up at the most spiritually compromised place in this city." I fell into deep thought. Who exactly wrote my name, Sarah, on that list? Who slipped that card under my door in the middle of the night? And who was the real person who snatched his child's donor organ? And who left the duffel bag and why? 19. An idea flashed in my mind, and I quickly said to him, "Look, man, I don't think you're a bad person. You've tied me up, and I'm definitely not going to let this go. Let us call the cops and have them investigate officially." Seeing his doubtful expression, I quickly added, "We can use the authorities to find out who's behind all this. It'll be accurate, and we'll get the truth we both want. I know you want revenge for your daughter, but is an eye for an eye really what she would have wanted?" The man stared at me suspiciously, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "You're not trying to trick me, are you? So you can escape?" I didn't answer, just silently pointed to the phone on the ground. He hesitated for a moment, then finally bent down, picked up the phone, and handed it to me. I looked down, unlocked my phone, and saw a long list of missed calls, all from the same person. My boss. I sighed and called her back. Life goes on, and the grind for money can't stop. Especially in my situation, I couldn't afford to lose my job. The moment the call connected, Ms. Young's shrill voice boomed like thunder. "Sarah, what the hell are you playing at? Why didn't you come home last night? And why aren't you at work?" She continued to chew me out. "If you don't want to work here, just say so. Don't pull this disappearing act on me. And my breakfast, I didn't get my breakfast today because of you. One more time, and you can forget about coming back." I suppressed my discomfort and tried to respond calmly. "Boss, I might need to take the day off today. I might have to go to the police station." Her voice on the other end instantly quieted, even sounding a little panicked. What happened to you? Why are you suddenly going to the police station?" I was about to explain when I froze. How did she know I hadn't come home last night? Could it be she was watching me? I pushed down my suspicions. I quickly made up a lie to fob her off. I accidentally bumped into an old man, and now it's become a police matter. With that, I quickly hung up. Now more and more previously overlooked details started flooding my mind. Why had my boss, Ms. Young, initially contacted me and offered me this job? And that photo, I seem to recall seeing it at my boss's place. As these questions swirled in my head, a chill crept up my spine. Could my boss be the one who caused Lily's death? Was she deliberately using me as a shield? 20. David and I went to the police station. Under the harsh white light of the interrogation room, we spilled everything, all our secrets and suspicions. I confessed to selfishly keeping the money, and he admitted to kidnapping me. With every word, I felt a weight lift from my heart. I knew that only by facing my mistakes could I truly start anew. This was what we had to face and endure. The police pulled up the security footage from outside my apartment. I was watching the footage with the police. On the screen, the familiar street looked unusually quiet until a figure stealthily appeared. My heart suddenly raced. My pupils dilated. It was my boss, Ms. Young. She looked around furtively, then quickly slipped into my apartment. The timestamp showed this all happened before I got home. Suddenly, everything made sense. That feeling of being watched, those weird noises, they weren't my imagination. They were all staged. My mind raced, connecting all the previous anomalies. My inexplicable drowsiness, as if I'd been drugged. That suspicious duffel bag by the road, it must have been a trap she set. Even those creepy sounds were part of her elaborate plan. Later, The police found a voice recorder in the grass near where ID found the bag. It was playing the exact same indescribable sounds ID heard a month ago. My blood boiled instantly. Anger erupted like a volcano in my chest. Only one thought echoed in my mind. What on earth did she want? Her target was one thing: my life. 21. Click clack clack. The sound of high heels echoed in the hallway outside the interrogation room. That familiar rhythm made my heart suddenly race. It was identical to the sound of high heels in my dream. Gotta hand it to our public servants, they work fast. My boss, Ms. Young, had also been brought in by the police. The police arranged a private conversation between David and my boss. I stood behind a one-way mirror, holding my breath as I watched the confrontation. The man who had kidnapped me, David, now had veins bulging on his forehead, his eyes wide with fury. He glared angrily at the woman who was usually so high and mighty. Why did you steal Lily's donor heart? She was in surgery. David's voice was filled with pain and rage. I saw my boss lower her head, her usual arrogance completely gone. She answered in a subservient tone I'd never heard from her before. I'm sorry. I had a sudden heart attack. If I didn't get a donor heart, I would have died too. Watching David's fury, an indescribable pang of sorrow welled up inside me. I couldn't help but think, if only my dad could have loved me like that. The thought made me both envious and heartbroken. Soon my boss was let out. The moment our eyes met, complex emotions churned within me. I was grateful to her for giving me a job when I could barely make ends meet. But I also hated her. Working like a dog for her was one thing, but she actually wanted my life. At the same time, I hated my own cowardice and greed. Those weaknesses had given her an opening. Finally, the police gave me the truth I had been longing for. The name on the list, Sarah, was changed by my boss's family. They were afraid their daughter, Ms. Young, would face retaliation, so they randomly picked a name to swap in. That unlucky person was me. I was in the hospital at the time, having suffered a sudden heart attack. As for the duffel bag, that was after my boss had her heart transplant. She had recently started feeling unwell again, for no apparent reason. The doctors said her transplant from years ago was failing, and she might not have much time left. Desperate, she sought help from a spiritualist. The spiritualist told her she could borrow lifespan to overcome her crisis. That's when my boss thought of me. This way, not only would her scapegoat be silenced forever and take the blame, but she could also continue to live. For her, it was killing two birds with one stone. She followed the spiritualist's instructions step by step. And I was supposed to have died last night. I never expected that, in the end, it would be a live stream I stumbled upon by accident and a fortune teller seeking revenge for his daughter, who saved my life. 22. A few months later, the case went to trial as scheduled. Me, my boss, and David. We all received the punishment we deserved. The moment I walked out of the prison gates, warm sunlight fell on my face. I took a deep breath of fresh air. Those months in prison gave me a whole new perspective on life. It wasn't just about atoning for past mistakes, but also about bringing some positive change to the world. Now, I wanted to do something meaningful, to give my life a new beginning. During my time in prison, I had many deep conversations with David, the man who had kidnapped me. We planned it together. We wanted to start a foundation together, specifically to help children from low-income families who suffer from congenital heart disease. We hoped to spare more children from the torment of illness and give them a healthy, happy future. Of course, for me, the first small goal is to work hard and save money to get a healthy heart for myself. When we discussed this plan, I saw a glimmer of hope in David's eyes. I knew he must have been thinking of his daughter, Lily. Although we can't change the past, at least we can strive to create a better future for all children with heart disease in the world. The road ahead is still long, and it might be full of challenges and difficulties. But I'm no longer the cowardly person I used to be. I believe everything will get better and better, including my own health and the world itself.